Welcome to the show. Now please strap in for the truth and remember the words of the great Tom Cruise.
I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Now welcome to Off Topic on Porn.
What's up, family? We are back once again. Good to have you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever this finds you. Once again, I am Rob Looper here with my buddy, cohort in this endeavor, Russell Cruzan. How's it going, buddy?
Going well, Rob. Hope it is with you and James also.
It is, and we have again with us one of our workers behind the scenes, and we get him on here so he can help us with all the data he's mined. James is with us. Buddy, what's going on, man?
Hey, I'm doing all right, guys. Thanks for having me.
It's good to have you, buddy. It's good to have you. It's been a interesting week. It's been weather-wise a really interesting week. I'll tell you that. It's been up and down here. It was like just 80 degrees here, and then it drops into like the 30s. I feel like the weather is trying to kill us or make us sick, one of the two. But, you know, I digress. If it's not the weather, it'll be something else, right? So, but anyway, it's been an interesting week in the news, too. You know, it's always interesting. Something's always going on, right? So, I have a question for you guys. Let's dive right in here. So fun fact, not fact, but question here. So JD Vance, he's doing an interview and they're talking to him. Now again, for me, the way that my brain works, I was just like, okay. They're talking to him about UFOs, you know, because Obama did that interview where he's like, yeah, well, clear out Area 51. Well, I believe in UFOs because I guess he believes he's a man of science. Which, fine, you want to be a man of science, I'm good with that. But J.D. Vance's answer is, I believe that a lot of these things are, probably demonic activity masquerading as angels of light. So because he's a believer, he comes from a more religious stance on this. So now he's catching a lot of flack, and, you know, people are not allowing him to have his point of view. And, you know, you can believe in UFOs and little green men, and that's okay. But as soon as you come at it from a biblical worldview, that to me makes far more sense, all of a sudden we're catching flack. So I'm going to throw this one to Russell first. Russell, what do we make of this, and what is your take on this? Because I know for you, logic and, you know, all that stuff kind of matters. So take us through a little bit of your thought process on this.
Well, I mean, I'll just start off by saying I agree with the vice president on this. Yeah, I think you said it when you said that people will believe in. I'll put it in a little bit different way, but they'll believe in extraterrestrial phenomena out there, life on other planets, etc. Intelligent life, maybe life that's more intelligent than ours. They'll believe all of that, and they'll just assume it. I've even heard some radio and podcast pundits say things like, well, with all the planets out there, it just stands to reason, the law of averages, that there would be life on other planets. That's really not the right way to look at it. The right way to look at it is not, well, we're here, so there certainly has to be a whole lot more of us out there. The real way to look at it is, why are we even here? Because this universe is not life friendly.
Right.
It simply is not. And no quarter of it.
Sure.
And so the fact that we're here at all is somewhat miraculous itself.
Sure.
So to make the assumption that because we're here, there must be others out there like us or superior to us, that's speculation, but that's not science. Science fiction maybe.
Sure.
But that's not science. So I mean, there's a whole lot I could say about all of this. But That's basically where I would start with the conversation here. Is it's not it's not as coherent to assume there's other life out there as people like to pretend that it is.
Right. And James, to dive a little deeper, let me ask you a question on this. Does it make you a man of science to believe in something like a UFO and make you not a man of science just because you believe from a biblical worldview?
Well, it's one of those situations. I think that this quest to find intelligent life, alien life, I think the motivation is to try to invalidate the God of the Bible and to dispense with religion and say, see, there are things about this universe that are more advanced than what we can understand. So therefore, our primitive understanding of, this being called a God and sending a son to die on a cross is we can dispense with all those kinds of things. I think about all the different sci-fi shows, Star
Star
Trek,
Trek, Star
yeah,
Wars,
lots of Star Treks, Stargate,
yeah,
SV1, all these
Battlestar
shows.
Galactica, all the
Yeah,
fun stuff. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, the Cylons and all that. And there's this resounding theme that you see in all these shows where, religion is something that's depicted as small, primitive, and tribal,
right.
something that you must evolve to get away from.
Well, and I think you said something. If they're trying to disprove the Bible, here's what I'm going to say, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, or if you disagree here. But it wouldn't even matter if they did find intelligent life. It wouldn't change that God created the heavens and the earth. It wouldn't change
Right.
it wouldn't invalidate any of the Bible because he's still the God of creation. He still sent Jesus to die. So it wouldn't invalidate anything. It would just prove further he is a very creative God who can do all the things he said he could do and even more. So
Mhm.
again, it wouldn't invalidate anything because he
Well,
never said he couldn't.
there is at least one problem biblically.
Okay.
When the Bible says that the entire world groans and travails together even unto to this time, that is a reference to the fact that this universe is fallen. And the reason, biblically speaking, the universe is fallen is because we fell.
Right.
Also, you can also say, well, Satan entering in as well.
Sure.
So what that says is you've got someone on the other side of the universe that is, this population, this citizenry that has been affected, a ripple effect from Earth by our sin. I just don't see any justification at all, biblically or scientifically,
I see
for
what
any
you're
of
saying.
this.
And you know what though? And the reason I asked that question, Russell, is because you know what? I think for me, I've thought, in my mind, I'm like, okay, what I thought, but what you just said, it makes a very valid point, and I think it's something we need to discuss at times because people go, well, it doesn't matter. Like what I said. I mean, I was being genuine and honest in what I said. But that argument that you just made, I think it's a valid point that we need to actually consider because it makes the point that, hey, probably isn't because again what you just said because it does say that and that statement is universal and I didn't even think about that when I said it, but you're absolutely I think correct on that and it makes that point. And I think a lot of times what we don't do is we don't have these conversations enough to where people actually go, it actually does matter actually
Yeah.
if we want biblical truth, so I think that's a really really good point and it's why we have these conversations and why
Yeah.
we should continue to, to kick these things around. So,
Hey,
um,
hey, Rob and
yeah,
Russell. Oh, can I throw in
yeah,
something?
yeah. Go ahead, throw in.
If you remember the book series by C.S. Lewis, the Space Trilogy,
Yeah,
Paralandra, Out of This Hideous Planet. I don't know if you recall some of these books that C.S. Lewis wrote. He wrote these books on a dare by I think by J.R.R. Tolkien. It was like, since science is becoming pretty popular, why don't you write something that's science related? And in C.S. Lewis's books, he argues that if you went to other planets, there would still be the message of Christ. There are creatures and figures that have Christ-like tendencies, and he's not called Christ, but he's called, Maladil. But he still dies for the people of, Venus or Mars or, it's a work of fiction.
sure.
But his argument is that, to Russell's point, if there were life on other planets, Jesus would still have to die to redeem that life. And
Right.
that's kind of C.S. Lewis's point.
Yeah. No, you make
That's
it.
how that was the stake.
Yeah. No, you
That
make a
is
good
a
point.
very good point.
Yeah. So let's hit something else. Let's just we keep moving. So to now further jump a little farther into the political realm, if you will. There's a new there's a new political phrase or party
Mhm.
being coined. Um, it is the Trump deranged Democrats. So we can thank John Fetterman for that one. By the way, I'm not hating this guy as much as I thought I would. When he first won, I was like, and I felt bad because I mean I think he had a stroke at one point and he was still going through it.
Yeah, he did.
And I mean, but this guy's really come on. Like again, do I agree with everything? No, I don't. Okay, but he's at least more of a like. I think James, you had said you had told me at one point. I think it was like 93% like with them or something with the
Yeah,
Democrats. But there are
with the
some things he's
Democrats, yeah.
like, no, we don't need to do that. Let's do this. And he's kind of coming out with party going, look, we don't need to go scorched earth with everything just
Mhm.
because we don't like Trump. So there's at least a respect that I have that he's not going, look, just because Trump says it doesn't mean we have to go no. You know, if he goes, hey, water is good for you. Trump said it is. Let's never drink water again. Water is bad. You know,
Yeah.
so I think that's, you know, there's a little bit of respect I have on him for that. But wanted to get your guys' take on this new political party, the Trump deranged Democrats, and kind of how you're kind of, and James, we'll start with you. This idea
Okay.
that this scorched earth they're going where it doesn't really matter whether it's good for the country or not. If Donald Trump proposes, let's go back to the whole thing. Water is good for you. Nope, can't do it. It's now bad for you. Water becomes, I mean, again, and I'm using water because it's, you know, it's
Yeah.
so ridiculous, but they'll no, it's bad for you. We can't drink water. Water is bad. Don't do it.
Right. Exactly.
So just give me your thoughts on
Oh,
this new political party and the um
right. Exactly. And of course that's tongue in cheek. You know,
yeah,
that's what I'm going to call them now. Trump deranged Democrats. You
yeah,
know, it's a new political wing.
yep,
It's one of those things, and it's actually a genetic fallacy. You know, it's just like when people say, "Oh, if the most evil person in the world said something, you must fundamentally reject it."
right.
You know, and it's like, well, no, that's not true. That's not the way truth works. I mean, because John Fetterman, one, he supported the nomination of Senator Mark Wayne Mullins as the new head of Department of Homeland Security.
Right.
He broke ranks with Democrats on that one. He also supports the Iran war, and those are two topics that the Democrats in both the House and the Senate says you cannot support. You've lost your way. Democratic pollster James Carville is calling him the enemy. You need to go. And and of course, Fetterman's like, yeah, my job is to represent the people of Pennsylvania, not listen to James Carville or any political pundit. You know, that's my job. And so he argues that Trump derangement syndrome is taking over the political party. And I don't know if you know this. There was a case, there's a story in the news about a Florida woman who's a Democrat used FEMA money to run for Congress, buy her jewelry, buy her houses, cars, millions of dollars of stolen FEMA money. And she was indicted by the House Ethics Committee, 25 counts, declared guilty,
Jeez.
still facing criminal charges. You know, the leadership in the House, they still don't want to say you need to quit, resign, leave the party. No, we'd rather have the seat. So they want to keep her on board in the House as long as possible because they'd rather have as many House Democratic seats as possible.
Yeah. Well, you can't give up the seat. So, Rosa, what are you have thoughts on Fetterman or this new Trump derangement, Trump deranged Democrats?
Yeah, exactly. Because the thing is, like he says himself, because this is the man who wears the hoodie,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
and yeah, and he famously was the one who suffered a stroke,
Yep.
some time back, and he says that brush with death has really caused him to have a lot of mental clarity.
Yeah.
So you cannot be so wedded to a party, a position, a platform that you check your brains in the door.
No,
You still have to
absolutely.
do what's right by the country.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Russell, do you have any?
I'll make this side comment. While I appreciate some of the comments, some of the things that Mr. Fetterman says, the fact is he's still voting something like 91% of the time with the
Yeah.
Democrats, including he votes for stuff that he speaks out against. So he'll say, well, the problem in my party is XYZ, but then if XYZ happens to be embedded in some legislation being voted on, he still votes for it.
Yeah.
So really, how wonderful is this guy after all?
Sure.
Yeah.
Anybody can say anything.
Right, exactly.
The proof is in the
Now, if
pudding.
he actually became a Republican,
That'd be great.
What's that, James?
if he actually became a Republican, okay, well, there
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah,
Put your
yeah.
money where your mouth is.
Yeah. Yeah, and see, he doesn't want to do that, and the reason he doesn't want to do that is because he is of the mindset to vote more than 9 times out of 10 for leftist agenda items. I think what he's doing with all that rhetoric, I've started forming this opinion that he perceives that because of where he is a congressperson, he is pandering to his base there, trying to make sure that votes don't get too far away from him.
Yeah.
He
Now, I
be-
may be wrong about that, but that's
I
what
don't know. I don't know. I don't know how. I got to be honest. I don't know how far left Pennsylvania is. To be honest with you,
Yeah.
they vacillate.
Yeah. So maybe that's not a
There's-
bad. Maybe that's not a bad
Yeah,
play.
I'm
So-
seeing some things in the news about some people saying that he's trying to present himself as a kind of a John McCain type maverick, independent, bipartisan type person. You know,
That's
I
not
go where the
that's
votes
not
are.
a compliment, by the way.
That's
Yeah.
probably what you want. But
Right.
so the final topic for tonight, gentlemen, and I'm going to say this. This is a serious thing. But it just shows me I'm going to call it the stupidity at times of people and how far we have sunk. Okay. We've got the hover mom who kidnapped her son's bully, her and her husband, I guess, and drove him around and threatened to, I will not use the pejorative term that she used, but kick his butt if he didn't stop bullying her son. Now, while I'm all for protecting your children, I'm not for breaking the law for your children. Okay. And so this is yet again where I shudder. I am at a loss for this is where we have sunk to, and people will justify mothers. The mother probably thinks, hey, I was just making sure, this kid deserves it. Go have a conversation with the parents. I don't know, homeschool your kid. There's a lot of things you can do, but breaking the law, kidnapping and terrorizing a child, you're an adult, be an adult. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But anyway, I will throw it to you gentlemen for we will use this as our kind of final thoughts. What do you think, Russell, we'll start with you on this one, about we'll call her hover mom to, I guess this is a real good, stranger danger, and maybe it's not a stranger because schoolmates, I guess, not real good ones, obviously, because he's a bully. But, thoughts on hover mom?
Well, one has to wonder what happened to the good old days when if there was a bully bullying your kid, the dad went over and talked to the other dad.
Yeah, where's the dad? By the way,
where did that go?
Right? Yeah, just
Oh,
go have a
we're gonna
conversation.
We'll pull the bully ostensibly
Yeah.
off the road and terrorize them.
Yeah.
I mean, you cannot commit terroristic threats against anybody.
Nope.
Especially not against a minor.
Sure.
And there's just they could have handled, if this kid really is a bully, they could have handled it in other ways that would have been totally legitimate.
Yes, absolutely. Because
And they
I want to
just
be clear,
didn't.
we don't
This is-
agree
this
with
is-
bullying at all. Let me just be
No,
clear. We do
we
not
don't.
agree with
That's
that
right.
at all.
Right.
But what happened was it took the onus off of, assuming the kid is a bully, because sometimes people call people bullies,
Right.
call kids bullies, and they're really not. There's something else going on.
Sure.
So, but assuming that's true,
Yeah.
there are appropriate ways to deal with that can be effective.
Yep.
And this right here is a clinic and an example on how not to do it.
Right.
At least one way not to do it.
Right. Because you've taken the whole. Correct me if I'm wrong here, guys. But now that what you've done is you have taken all of the spotlight off of his behavior, and you have now
Yep.
put it on your bad behavior, and
Mm-hmm.
he is now oh man, this poor kid. And I'm not saying that he's not. He should never. What happened to him was wrong. Okay, you don't do that to a child ever, like ever. But if you want to spotlight again, to Russell, to your point, if it is bullying behavior, that is unacceptable. There is no question. It is unacceptable behavior. Go talk to the principal. Call a meeting of the parents. Let's deal with this. Do it in the appropriate, within the bounds of the law, legal, where you're also not damaging
Be
children.
an adult. How about that?
Yeah, exactly. Be an
a grown
adult.
up. This is how
Right.
grown-ups deal with
Adults
it.
need to be the adults in the room.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly. And I think the problem is again, James, and you can talk with This isn't Hollywood. It's not going to all end well just because you're trying to do, you're trying to have the, you're going about something the wrong way with the right motives. It doesn't just go, well, okay, it'll be fine and it'll all come out in the wash. This isn't a movie, okay? This isn't going to work out that way. James, but go ahead. Final thoughts.
Yeah. The thing about this case is that, I mean, if you think your son was bullied before, what do you think is going to happen when the kids find out, dude, you called your mom
Yeah,
to come
Yeah,
kidnap
it's-
you?
seriously.
They're really going to beat you up.
Yeah, kids are
Yeah.
cruel as
You're
it
gonna call
is.
your
Yeah,
mom, and,
yeah,
she's going to be Rambo and
yeah. So
come
your
in on a
mom
tank
doesn't.
and
Yeah.
I
jump
mean,
out of an
honestly,
airplane.
that is such a good point, James.
Oh,
And
that's a
you know,
brutal but good
I
point.
remember when I was a kid, I honestly think my peers
Yeah.
were more manly than some of the adult males are today.
Seriously, I
Back,
mean,
back
yeah.
in elementary and middle school.
Oh yeah. I mean, we just handled our own business half the time, and what we
Yeah.
prayed is our parents didn't get involved because we'd all get our
Yeah.
tail whooped. That was the
Yes.
thing.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Like if you get in trouble in
Maybe-
school,
Yeah. Oh,
and
Yeah.
the fear of God was in me not to ever have that happen.
oh, and you know what?
Right.
And I think you guys are with me on this. You know what my parents never asked? They didn't. They never asked this question. What did you do to my kid? Because they
Oh,
all
no.
because my parents
You-
knew me, they knew their son. They
Yeah.
asked, "What did my kid do?"
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They knew
Yeah.
who their son was. They didn't look through these rose-colored glasses that Rob could never do wrong. They're like, "What did Rob do?" Well,
Yeah.
and
Now
then
my son,
yeah,
what did killer do?
yeah,
He would never do that.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, see, this is what happens when this concept of so-called positive parenting permeates a culture. We
Right.
could do an entire podcast or two just on that.
Oh yeah,
It has not done good things for the upbringing of kids in this country.
no, because they grow up without consequences. When kids don't
Right.
understand consequences, I'm going to say this, okay? Have you guys ever played the Oregon Trail? That game,
The Oregon,
that old game. Remember Oregon Trail?
yeah, okay.
Okay, here's the
I
thing.
thought you said Oregon Trail. I was going to
Yeah.
say, I don't know.
That old game where
But-
you die from fording the river, or you got whatever it was.
Yeah.
Where okay, well back where the Oregon Trail was real. Okay, you literally had to listen to your parents and you had to use common sense because when little Jimmy's mom said don't play with a rattlesnake, and little Jimmy didn't listen, little Jimmy died. Okay, well guess what? Those genes that were not super intelligent because the rattlesnake didn't come with a warning label. Well, little Jimmy didn't get to pass those on. Well, little Johnny listened to his mom, and you know what? He grew up, had a family, and now we've got warning labels on everything. We've got this nanny state, and people are like, "Oh yeah." And I told James this, Russ. I really believe we as a society have just gotten. I'm not going to say that word. We are just not as intelligent as we used to be. I'm sorry. I feel like we have gotten not smarter. I'll use that because I don't want to, be ugly to people, but I really think we are not smart and we're just getting not smarter as it goes because of the stuff that we're doing and what we have to do. I mean, how do you not know not to kidnap somebody? How does that not register? You know, I mean,
it's
I go back to how do you have
He
to
pulls
tell?
up in her minivan and says, "Get in."
How
yeah.
do you not know
Who's
this?
this lady?
This can't
I'm taking
end
you to my
well.
house. You're gonna apologize to my kid.
Yeah, exactly. And not only that, I go back to again, we have to tell kids, we have to tell parents, hey, don't let your kids eat Tide Pods. That's not good. That's not good either. Like we are not becoming smarter as a society. This is not good. It does not bode well.
This is what happens when a generation of people grow up with the attitude that they're going to push back against the hard discipline that they received. And so they're not going to do that to their
Yeah.
kids.
No, I know.
And then the rest of society, when they turn those hellions loose after raising them a poor way
Yeah.
on society,
Right.
the rest of society gets to appreciate why the original parents or the parents of yesteryear were in fact disciplinarians.
Absolutely.
The disciplinarian ethic, it's just inescapable.
Yeah.
Children need to be disciplined.
Yeah, they absolutely do. Absolutely. Well, I mean, and Russell, we talked about a biblical worldview earlier. The Bible says that if you love, God even says, "I discipline those I love." Well, there you go.
Yeah, that's right.
So
Hebrews 13:5.
there you go. Thank you, James. So with
Very
that,
good.
what I will say is this: we are out of time for this episode. If you have enjoyed it, like, subscribe, leave us a comment. You can email us at otopnow@gmail.com. If you didn't like it, you can email us at James Aldridge at we're not gonna respond to. No, I'm kidding. If you didn't like it, or you disagree, you can email us at otop
That's great.
now at
That's
gmail.com.
great,
You can leave a comment, whatever. We would love to hear from you. We would love to talk to you. So like, subscribe, share it with somebody that you know, and we will see you on the next episode. And remember, you do not always have to be on topic. You can be off topic, but you must always be on
On
point. All right, everybody. We'll see you on the next episode. Thanks for tuning in. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.